bison licking its flank, bison licking insect bite, rotating bison. It's really something, isn't it? How one single tiny piece of prehistoric art gets all these different names.
It is amazing. And you see it across, French, English, Spanish scholarship. Each name sort of zeroes in on a different aspect.
Yeah, like a different interpretation right there in the name. It shows how we're constantly looking at the past, trying to figure it out.
Exactly. That terminological fluctuation, as the sources call it, really highlights this ongoing conversation we have with these ancient objects. It's not static.
Definitely not. And today, we're doing a deep dive into one artifact that always sparks that conversation. The bison licking its flank from La Madeleine.
Oh, it's such an emblematic piece. It comes
Yeah.
from the Upper Paleolithic, specifically the Magdalenian culture, maybe around 15,000 years ago.
A time known for this incredible burst of creativity.
Absolutely. And this bison, it's not just art. It's a window into their whole world, their materials, their technology, their symbolic life.
So that's our mission today. Really unpack this little masterpiece. We'll look at its discovery, the site itself, La Madeleine, which is fascinating.
And the artistic side, how it was made, the style.
And its original job, right, as
Right.
part of a spear thrower.
Yeah, the function is key. And then we'll get into the different ways people have tried to interpret what it means.
It sounds like we'll need to draw on quite a few sources to piece it all together.
That's the nature of studying Paleolithic art. You're always adding layers, refining the picture. It's a dynamic process, just like those name changes suggest.
Okay, let's start with the discovery then. La Madeleine rock shelter, Dordogne region in France, right on the Vézère River. This place is a big deal, historically speaking.
Oh, absolutely huge. It's
Yeah.
the type site, the place that actually gave the Magdalenian culture its name. Its importance comes from just the sheer volume and quality of what was found there.
Especially the portable art, right?
Exactly. The finds from La Madeleine were crucial for defining this whole period, understanding how their culture developed over thousands of years.
And the discovery itself goes way back 1863. Edouard Lortet and Henry Christie, pioneers.
They really were. And it wasn't just luck. They had a kind of predictive model.
Right, they looked for specific things.
Yeah, drawing on what they knew about hunter-gatherer groups elsewhere. They targeted rock shelters, south-facing ones near water. La Madeleine ticked all the boxes.
That's pretty systematic for early archaeology.
It was a real step forward.
Yeah.
And when they started digging in 1864, wow, the site just poured out artifacts.
Thousands of tools, flint, bone, worked reindeer antler, engravings.
Just an incredible snapshot of Magdalenian life. And their work paved the way for others. Giraud, Perroni, Capitan. Later, Jean-Marc Bouvier brought in more modern methods from 68 onwards.
Didn't Perroni find something really striking in 1926? A child burial.
Yes, that was a significant find. A young child buried with something like over 1,500 perforated seashells.
1,500. That makes you think, doesn't it? About their society.
It really does. Such richness with a young child raises questions about social structure, maybe even inherited status. It pushes back against simplistic ideas about Paleolithic groups.
Shows a level of complexity we might not expect.
Definitely. And going back to those very first digs, Lortet and Christie found that engraved mammoth tusk in 1864. That was huge news.
Because it was found in a sealed layer, right? Proof.
Proof positive that humans and mammoths lived at the same time. And crucially, that these early humans had the skill and the inclination to depict them realistically. Game-changing.
And all this richness from La Madeleine is what led Gabriel de Mortier to formally name the Magdalenian period in 1872.
Exactly. It forced a major rethink about the capabilities of prehistoric people. Challenged the whole primitive caveman idea.
Showed their sophistication artistically and cognitively.
Fundamentally shifted the perception. And besides our bison, La Madeleine gave us so much more.
Like the engraved mammoth piece, the reindeer and fawn.
That creeping hyena spear thrower, which is another amazing carving. Even a small bison amulet that looks almost mournful.
It's just an astonishing collection.
And don't forget the tools. The lithic and bone industry there is incredible.
What kind of things are we talking about?
Well, specialized flint tools like burdens for carving, scrapers probably for hides, perforators, distinctive La Madeleine points for projectiles.
And the bone and antler work.
Really advanced. Eyed needles, meaning tailored clothing awls, whistles made of bone, those strange perforated batons nobody's quite sure about, and lots of different harpoons. It shows incredible technological skill.
Okay, let's zoom right in on our bison now. The bison licking its flank. It's described as sculpture in the round.
Yes, but designed to be seen best from certain angles because of how it was originally attached.
Right, because it was part of something else. And it's tiny. Reindeer antler, only about 4 inches long, 10.5 centimeters.
The detail packed into that small space is just stunning.
What kind of bison is it?
It's the extinct steppe bison, Bison priscus, a major animal back then, crucial for these hunters.
And we think it's around 15,000 years old, give or take.
Yeah, roughly 13,000 BC, though the broader range, sometimes cited, is 20,000 to 10,000 BP. And now it lives, so to speak, in the National Museum of Prehistory in Les Eyzies.
Which is right near where it was found. Makes sense.
It does. And the consensus is that it wasn't just a standalone carving. It was part of a spear thrower.
An atlatl, a really important piece of hunting kit.
Absolutely crucial. It's basically a lever that adds immense power and range to a spear or dart, essential for tackling megafauna safely.
And the theory about this piece is quite clever, isn't it? That the original spear thrower broke.
That's the most compelling idea, that the artist took the broken fragment of antler and ingeniously adapted the bison's pose to fit the shape they had left.
Wow, so a limitation, a constraint, actually sparked the art. They didn't just toss the broken piece.
Exactly. It speaks volumes about their resourcefulness, how practicality and artistry just flowed together. Constraint becomes the catalyst for this unique, expressive pose.
That's really something. And its museum journey is interesting, too. It was near Paris for ages.
Yes, at the Musée des Antiquités Nationales. It only moved to Les Eyzies in 2004.
Part of that trend of getting artifacts closer to their origins.
Right. Better context for the public, easier access for researchers in the region. It helps frame the object.
So putting all those technical bits together, the names, origin, material function, really gives you a solid grounding for appreciating the piece.
It does. It sets you up to really look at the artistry involved.
And speaking of artistry, that blend of naturalism and stylization is classic Magdalenian, isn't it?
It really is. You get this feeling of a real animal, observed closely, but rendered according to specific artistic conventions of the time.
It feels alive.
Yeah, there's a presence. You see the naturalism in the anatomy, the pose, it looked like a snapshot of behavior.
Like the low relief head and neck, the way the mane and beard are just suggested with incisions.
And the horns, one carved more in relief, the other flatter, maybe suggesting perspective or maybe just fitting the antler.
Clever. And the little details on the face, the ear, the eye, nostrils, even that line of dots for the muzzle.
Gives it such expression. That detail shows incredible control.
And the tongue, the way it recedes back into the flank, creating that depth.
That's masterful carving, creating volume and really highlighting the action, the licking.
So they used carving for the overall shape and then finer engraving tools, burins, for the details like fur.
Exactly. Working antler was a multi-stage process.
Yeah.
Cleaning it, cutting, scraping, carving, engraving, maybe polishing. Serious skill needed.
You mentioned the horns, perhaps suggesting perspective. Does that connect to the twisted perspective we see in cave paintings?
It might be a subtle echo. Even in 3D, they might prioritize showing key features clearly, like both horns, rather than strict optical reality. It's about conveying bisonness.
And the pose itself, the head twisted right back 180 degrees. The main explanation is pragmatic, right? Fitting the antler.
That's the most accepted view. But what's brilliant is how that necessity becomes the artwork's defining feature. It's not just solving a problem, it's creating dynamism.
Turning constraint into expression.
Precisely. It suggests movement, that specific action of licking. It shows they weren't just carving a bison, but a bison doing something they'd observed.
It's just a seamless integration of observation, style, and the limits of the material. Really shows mature artistic tradition.
A shared visual language, definitely. And understanding this piece means understanding the wider Magdalenian world it came from.
Which was, what, roughly 17,000 to 12,000 years ago? Kind of the high point of the Upper Paleolithic in Western Europe?
Culturally speaking, yes. A real fluorescence in technology and art.
We mentioned the tools already very sophisticated.
Incredibly diverse. Flint tools like burins, scrapers, perforators, back bladelets, projectile points, and amazing bone and antler work, wedges, adzes, hammers, spear points, harpoons. Those actually help date different Magdalenian phases based on their barb design.
And the eyed needles, spear throwers.
Right. Plus microliths, tiny stone pieces for composite tools. Really advanced stuff.
And life revolved around hunting, especially reindeer.
Hugely. It used to be called the Age of the Reindeer. But they hunted horse, bison, deer, mammoth too, adapting to local conditions.
Might they have been semi-settled sometimes?
Possibly. In resource-rich areas or times, there are hints of larger populations which might connect to this artistic explosion.
Makes sense. More stability, maybe more time for art. And Magdalenian art is just spectacular, both on cave walls and these portable pieces.
It's a defining legacy. You have the great caves like Lascaux, Altamira parietal art, and this incredible wealth of portable art like our bison.
Mostly animals, right? Horses, bison, reindeer.
Mammoths, ibexes, deer, sometimes fish or bears. Abstract signs are common too. Humans are rarer, especially in cave art.
And they used all sorts of techniques.
Painting, blowing pigment, precious fingers, engraving, sculpture in stone, bone, antler, ivory. You can see stylistic changes over time, often towards more naturalism.
All happening during the tail end of the Ice Age. A tough environment.
Cold, dry, steppe, tundra landscapes. Cold-adapted animals dominated reindeer, horse, steppe bison, mammoth.
And that link between reindeer hunting and antler is vital, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. Reindeer provided food, hides, sinew, and crucially, antler, the perfect raw material for so many tools and art pieces like the La Madeleine bison. The material itself tells a story of their subsistence.
It highlights that deep connection between their survival, their technology, and their art.
It wasn't separate spheres. The symbolism seems to permeate everything. Having art on a hunting tool like a spear thrower is the perfect example of that integration.
Yeah, let's talk more about that. The bison as part of a spear thrower. That intersection of art and function is fascinating.
It really is. The spear thrower itself was a major technological leap.
That lever action.
Gave them so much more power, speed, range. Made hunting big, dangerous animals safer and more effective. We see evidence for them quite early in Europe.
And decorating them was pretty common in the Magdalenian.
It seems so. It wasn't unusual to invest artistic effort into these vital tools.
We know of others, right? Shaped like mammoths or with horses carved on them.
Yes, finds from sites like Canicote or Mastazil show other examples. It was a known practice.
Suggesting the decoration was more than just, well, decoration.
Almost certainly. It likely carried symbolic weight, narrative meaning. It imbued the tool with cultural content, connecting the hunt to their wider world.
So what kind of meanings could there be? You hear hunting magic.
That's a classic interpretation. The idea that depicting the prey animal, like the bison, could magically influence the hunt's outcome.
Or maybe totemic, connecting with the animal's spirit.
That's another possibility. Or maybe thinking the animal's qualities, strength, speed. Perhaps the carvings told stories, myths, or marked group identity. Even the act of carving itself could have been ritualistic, empowering the weapon.
And the choice of animal bison, mammoth, horse clearly reflected their importance.
Whether for food or in their cosmology, their myths, these weren't random doodles. They depicted powerful, significant beings in their world.
It's been suggested that decorating these tools might have even boosted the hunter's confidence, like a psychological edge.
A kind of techno-spiritual placebo, perhaps. Investing skill and belief into the tool could make the hunter feel more effective, more connected in a dangerous world. Art as a psychological technology.
That really reframes how we think about art's role back then. It wasn't just aesthetic, it was deeply functional, psychologically, and perhaps spiritually.
Exactly. And our ideas about what Paleolithic art meant have changed dramatically over time, too.
How so? What's the history of interpreting this stuff?
Well, early on, there was the simple art for art's sake idea. They just liked making nice things.
Seems a bit limited now.
It does. Then came the big theory of sympathetic magic, pushed by scholars like Reinach and especially Abbe Brule in the early 20th century.
Based on comparisons with modern hunter-gatherers.
Right, suggesting the art aimed to ensure hunting success or animal fertility. Brule's detailed documentation and stylistic sequences were hugely influential, even if the interpretation evolved.
Then things shifted again mid-century, with structuralism.
Yes, with Leroy Gourhan and Lemming Empereur. They look for underlying patterns, a kind of symbolic grammar in the caves.
Like the idea of male-female pairings, horse and bison representing fundamental concepts.
Exactly. They saw the caves not as random collections, but as structured symbolic spaces or mythograms. Leroy Gourhan also developed his own influential stylistic phases.
And more recently, the shamanistic interpretation has gained traction.
Yes, championed by researchers like John Klotz and David Lewis Williams. Drawing on ethnography and neuropsychology, they suggest much of the art relates to visions from altered states of consciousness.
Interactions with the spirit world, with the cave itself as a kind of portal or veil.
That's the core idea, that the artists were depicting experiences from trances, communicating with spirits within the rock.
So if we apply these ideas to the bison, it could mean many things.
Absolutely. Beyond just being food, the bison likely held complex symbolic meaning. It appears in composite human-animal figures sometimes, suggesting mythological roles. It could be a clan emblem, a spirit helper, a figure in creation stories.
And portable art, like our bison carving. What different jobs could it have had?
So many possibilities. Amulets for protection or luck, personal ornaments showing identity or status, perhaps teaching tools, or memory aids for stories or rituals.
Being portable makes it feel more personal somehow.
It does. It suggests symbolism wasn't just confined to sacred cave rituals, but was part of daily life, carried around by individuals or small groups. It offers a different scale of symbolic expression.
It's really useful to know about these different interpretive frameworks. They aren't always mutually exclusive, are they?
Not at all. Different theories might explain different aspects of the art or apply differently to parietal versus portable art. It's likely a complex mix.
Now, thinking about the bison artifact itself today, it's made of antler, thousands of years old. That must be incredibly fragile.
Extremely. Organic materials like bone and antler are very sensitive, especially to changes in humidity and temperature. Light, pollutants, they all pose risks. Conservation requires very stable environments.
And even digging them up must be tricky.
Definitely. Ensuring the stability of the surrounding sediments, avoiding contamination, it requires meticulous care from the moment of discovery.
But our tools for studying these things have improved massively.
Oh, hugely. We have precise radiocarbon dating, geological analyses to source materials, microanalysis for residues, amazing 3D scanning and photogrammetry for documentation and replicas without touching the original.
Experimental archaeology, too, trying to remake the tools in art.
Yes, that gives great insights. Plus careful stratigraphic excavation, cautious use of ethnographic analogy, even ancient DNA studies sometimes. Non-destructive analysis is key.
And discoveries like the Madeleine Bison really did change how we view early human minds, didn't they?
Profoundly. They blew away old ideas of primitive ancestors, showed high artistic skill, keen observation, abstract thought.
And the fact that this incredible art is on a functional tool just keeps fueling debate.
About how art, utility, and symbolism were all tangled together in their worldview. It challenges our neat modern categories.
And briefly, that child burial at La Madeleine also raises important ethical points, doesn't it? About studying and displaying human remains.
Yes, it does. There's an ongoing need for respectful handling, rigorous scientific justification, and sensitivity when dealing with Paleolithic human remains.
So studying these artifacts isn't just about the past. It keeps pushing us to think about our relationship with history and heritage now.
Absolutely. It remains incredibly relevant.
So, wrapping up, the bison licking its flank. It might be small, but its significance is immense.
Totally. It's a true masterpiece of Magdalenian art, giving us this incredibly intimate glimpse into their world, technically, socially, symbolically.
A testament to that early flowering of abstract thought, of symbolic representation.
And a real challenge to our modern way of separating the functional from the symbolic.
Yeah.
It suggests a much more integrated way of seeing the world.
And being portable art, it feels like a more personal connection, maybe?
I think so. A glimpse into beliefs and aesthetics at maybe an individual or small group level.
It's just amazing how these ancient creative sparks continue to resonate, connecting us across millennia.
They really do.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're still studying, still debating pieces like the La Madeleine Bison shows their enduring power to provoke curiosity.
A constant stimulus, pushing us to understand the human mind and the very origins of culture. What a legacy. Thanks for this fascinating deep dive.
My pleasure. Always more to uncover with these incredible finds.